Anochi, Elokecho. This is Leil Beis, the second night of Pesach after the Seder. Tavshin Chavov. Anochi, Elokecho, she'tzitzchem be'eretz Mitzrayim. So this is the opening words of the Seder said, Bibris, I am God, your Lord, took you out of the land of Mitzrayim. Very interesting. So the Rebbe Marash asks in his first Maimer, the beginning of his Nesius, take this leaf. You have to understand, there's more Maimarim with why Hashem introduces himself as who took you out of Mitzrayim. First of all, it just happened 7 weeks before. Listen, the Mefarshim asked that. But more, the question is really in them. Hashem Barosi Yesh Ma'ayin. I created something from nothing, creation. The Lashon usually is Hashem Barosi Shemayim Va'aretz, but the diak is that creation. What is creation? It's Yesh Ma'ayin. So that's the Pella Shebedovet. Shalachayr is a Pella Godla Yesim Mitzrayim. Something from nothing obviously is a much greater Pella than manipulating nature, miracles, which was Yitzias Mitzrayim. First you have to understand, he says, the whole union of Nisim, which are beyond nature, is a gufa hefesh ben Nisim Yitzias Mitzrayim. First of all, to understand where a nest comes from, what it is. And within that itself, the difference between the Nisim and Yitzias Mitzrayim, between Sharam Nisim and Esther. There are other miracles, like for example, the miracle of Purim. So the Eibishter conducts the world through Shem Elikim. And what's Elikim? Elikim b'gematria teva. Elikim is the same gematria as Ateva. 76. 86. I'm sorry, 86, yeah. So this Hanhoge is the world conducts itself in this orderly fashion. Yom v'layla, day and night, kites v'chayrev, summer, winter, leish boiso, uninterruptedly, as the pasuk says, after the flood. Shezuya nagas hateva, that's teva. L'lei nisim klal, we don't see miracles at all. The mighty mezayah nagas shin daled yud, and then that's el Shem Elikim. Then there's the Shem Shin Daled Yud, Shakai, Shazeh, Pirshu Chazal. There are many Pirushim. One of them is in Medrash, Shedai Balikusi L'Kol Beri. The Eibishter says there is enough, sufficient, and appropriate, measured, tailored in my godly investure, my godliness for each creation. Dai, as in the word, sufficient. So here we're talking already on the one hand in a Valikus in a revealed way. Shemishem Shindalejud Nimshachim Gam Nisim, from this Madrege, this Gila Valikus, there's also Nisim. Avodak Nisim Nistorim. These are miracles that are hidden. What does hidden mean? Shemlevoshim Bedarki Ateva. They're enclosed in Teva and they require scrutiny and awareness to discover them, to see them. Like Purim, the whole miracle unfolded naturally. Because Achashverosh loved Esther, so therefore he did everything he did in the end. It's interesting to note because elsewhere, Chassidus doesn't illustrate the whole story. Why isolates this is interesting. Could be to the Rebbe Marash's Maimer to see there too. So Shem Elikim we've discussed, that's Teva. Shem Shin Daled Yud, that's the Malim Teva, but Melubash in Teva. And then there's a third Anhoga, Shemitzad Shem Havaya, Shemen Nimshachim Nisim Niglim. From here comes revealed miracle, completely beyond the laws of nature, like the Exodus and Kriyas Yamsuf. They are obvious miracles. Is such that what cannot even urge is that's a natural phenomenon. unlike miracles that are enclosed in nature. Although I've seen there are those that try to explain, even Kriyas Yamsuf and all the Esemakis naturally. No, timing that's apitoida, that God does it in a way that still fuses with nature in some way. They explain the high tide, and it can be rapid against shtusim. No, it's stretching it. The point is, he says, Shein Bakem Lito. He says, miracles that are stupendous, and there is no room for error. So, if so, the following question: Omnam apizet tzarich lav masha kosav. So, if the inyan of what Shem Havaya means miracles beyond nature, so how is it? Ve'edal Avram, Hashem, in criticism, as it were, of Moishe Rabbeinu, tells him that I appeared to Avram Bekel Shaddai. They only knew me as I reveal myself through Shem Shin Daled Yud, Ushmi Havaya Loine Daiti Lehem, and they didn't know me. Shem Havaya, as Rashi explains, they didn't know me as coming good on promises, etc. But now, all they knew was me through this revelation. How to explain the fact that they had not only miracles hidden in Darkei HaTeva, they were privy to, a witness to, and it happened to them miracles beyond nature completely. Nimrod, like Avram being saved from the furnace of Nimrod. It's an obvious miracle. So what does it mean? They're explaining that Shem Havaya means miracle, revealed miracles. They had revealed miracles. He spells out the question. In light of the above, that miracles that are beyond nature come from Shem Havaya Dafke, not Shin Shem Daled Yud, which the pasuk acknowledges they did know, but Shem Havaya not. Whereas from the Shem Shin Daled Yud, there are miracles, but they are enclosed in nature, so it doesn't square with. How is it that we see that they did have such miracles beyond nature? Even though as the pasuk says, I knew them, they knew me only b'shem shin daled yud. And I did not reveal to them, and it wasn't revealed to them. Shem Havaya, from which comes open miracles. How do we explain this? Which are beyond nature, where they did have miracles beyond nature. The answer is the intent that Hashem is saying here is not that the others had no relationship at all to the Gil of Shem Havaya. That contradicts the pasuk, because Hashem appears to him and Shem Havaya. Ela Pirishu, right? The first pasuk in Vayera. Ela Pirishu Shem Havaya is Gala Etzam Be'oifen. Shenimshach v'nislabish tchila b'shem shin daled. So Shem Havaya is revealed to them, however, in such a way that's drawn and invested first before it's manifested into the world in Shem Shak Hashem Shin Daled Yud. V'lohoyo etzam gila Shem Havaya k'moish mitzad atzmoi, and they were not revealed to them Shem Havaya as it is unfiltered. And therefore, they did not. Asagas Amos means, literally, translation, to grasp the substance, the very essence, which means they did not directly experience the Gil of Shem Havaya. They obviously know that what is happening here is a revelation that is beyond nature, and that's something that they were aware of, but they did not experience that Gilui, that revelation of Elikus beyond nature. Yediyas Ametzias, again, knowing of it and seeing its result, as opposed to Asagas Samhus, which means literally grasping it and experiencing it. So what that means is when he's in the fiery furnace and he emerges unscathed. He's not burned alive. So what he's experiencing is the result of a gilui that is miraculous. But Hashem says he did not experience my miraculous revelation. Just a consequence of it. L'chayr, it means that he was not having a divine experience there. It wasn't like he was experiencing a likus, unfiltered. He was experiencing the result of Hashem's, to put it in simple language. He was experiencing the result of God's infinite love, but not experiencing the love itself. Like if you give someone a very expensive gift, because you love them so much, and it's obvious you wouldn't spend so much and put yourself out if you didn't love them tremendously. So the gift is the expression of the tremendous love, but the gift itself is not the love itself. The love itself is the embrace, is the person. The person. You get it in the mail. So you come home, whatever the gift is on the table. So you're experiencing the consequence of this person's love, your spouse's love, as opposed to the actual love itself, and that the others did not experience. The time hadn't come. The Avodah was all achon of Matan Torah. It's by Matan Torah where Hashem experiences, reveals himself. Not I do all these things for you, see, but I give myself to you. That was the Anochi that was given in Matan Torah. Clear? Let's go further. More pratim. That's the difference between the higher Shem Havaya, the lower Shem Havaya, and the higher Shem Havaya. Ki Zayar, we've encountered this many times, but Pirush HaKosov, in explaining the pasuk, Vayikran Hashem, and he called, Moishe called to the Eibishter, Hashem taught him, the Yud Gimel B'des Rachamim, and he called out, Havaya, Havaya Beis Pamim. Shem Beis Shem is Havaya. So it's not just a repetition of Hashem's name, but it's two levels in Shem Havaya. By the way, Rashi addresses that question. What does it mean, Havaya, Havaya twice? Anybody remembers that Rashi says? It's very Rashi. Why is it twice? I mean, it's shocking. It's one God. You don't say twice. If a person for the Amud says in Kriya Shema Hashem's name twice, Meshatkin, so we take him away from the Amud. Maybe it's Tzedukah. Maybe it's not Pekoros. God's name twice. So Rashi answers, which begs the question, he hasn't sinned yet, what do you need? Sin. But that's Pshat Mikra. It's connected to the Bir HaPichsidus too, which is that the two darges in Shem Havaya. He's going to explain what they are. Amongst the differences between these two madreges, Shem Havaya Deleh, Shem Havaya Delesata, it says, and Mr. is saying the same thing here also. Shem Havaya Delesata is Atzilus. Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yud is Chachma, Hey is Bina, Vav the 6 Midas, and Hey is Malchus. Havaya Deleh is Eshes Sviris Agnosis, also the 10 Sviris, where we learned at length, the Shvos Dik Maimorim. The Eshes Sviris says they are bound up with the Ein Sof and inseparable, and the expression of the Keich HaGvul equal to the Keich HaBli Gvul. That's Havaya Deleh. In other words, beyond Ishtalshalis completely. Atzilus is beyond Ishtalshalis, beyond Biyah. Relatively speaking, Havaya Deleh is completely beyond Ishtalshalis. So amongst the differences, there is a relationship when we only know the Metzias of Shem Havaya. And that's the dark that the Ovis had. They're not experiencing a Likus itself. They're experiencing the Metzias. There's no question that this is godly, but they're not experiencing the godliness itself. Friends, with this, Hasagas Hamohos, in Hasagan understanding, our learning of Chassidus, also a learning of godliness, is Yedias and Metzias, not Yedias Hamohos. We're talking about these madregas. We understand them, we define them, we're talking about them. We're not experiencing them. That's Yedias and Metzias. It's very elaborate and complex. for the most part, for most of us, that's how we learn Chassidus. We're learning about God, and very intricately, in the highest madrigas. That's Yediyas HaMetzias. Yediyas HaMehusas, you're not learning about something. You're, in your knowledge, you're experiencing it. It's a different world completely. So the Ovis, L'gabe Shem Havaya, because it was pre-Matan Torah, was Yediyas HaMetzias. ויש אופן של הקורא, וזהו, בסדר, וזהו, שמהווה לסתר שנסגל לאובץ, ויש אופן של הקורא והסוגה גם במהוסתא שמהווה. And then there is a knowledge that is not just about it, but actually experiencing the mahusah shemavaya v'yin shemavaya de la'elo shenisgala matan Torah. When was that revealed? Matan Torah. As we said before, what matan anochi Elokecho, that the Eibishter gives himself to Yidden. Not just I'm doing things for you, wonderful things. I'm giving you me. That's havaya de la'elo. That's the experience of God himself. So now we're answering this question. The question was, how to say Shmi Avaya Lini Daitilah? They didn't know Mishem Avaya. They did Vayedil Avaya, and there's stupendous miracles. But the answer is the consequence of Shem Havaya that they had, of Shem Havaya meaning God's infinite love, the result of that they had, the gifts they got, Nisim Gluyim, Sheyotzim Medarkei Teva, totally beyond nation. Given Shegametzema Yigilu Shem Havaya, because Shem Havaya, in again simple language, God's infinite love, Shemena Nimshachem Nisim Gluyim, Sheyotzim Medarkei Teva, and they had the result of that, the consequence of that, and open miracles beyond nation. Still, you have experienced my, even you could even say experienced my love, but not me yet. Knowing me, that's going to come now to Eden by Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. Lo nidai tilhem. They didn't have the Eibishter himself, as it were, not just the expression of his love, but him. That is revealed and given in Matan Torah only. Yeah. Yediyas HaMetzias and Yediyas experience of the Metzias, or in Yediyas experience. Yediyah means experience, doesn't mean knowledge. Das means to connect completely with and to have. So Das means, so Yediyas HaMetzias, meaning you are connecting to the truth of godliness. You see what he's giving you and you're experiencing the miracles. That's extraordinary. And then there's Yediyas HaMahos. You're not just experiencing his love, his manifestation that he gives you, but you experience him alone. That's Havaya de la'elo. That's Matan Torah. Anochi Elokecho. It means also that Atzilus, which is Havaya de l'sata, what's Atzilus? Atzilus is experiencing the Eibishter revealing himself in these beautiful ways, and that's the Spheres. But what is the experience is the Spheres themselves, that's the experience. Not the Mahusah Velikus, Blikvul, the Atzmis Velikus. That's Havaya de la'elo. Okay, in order for this the gil of Shem Havaya de la'elo to happen Matan Torah, h'tשכ chila in Yetzias Mitzrayim. So first we have to have Yetzias Mitzrayim, and this is going to answer the question why Anochi Elokecho. How? Why? Because Asher Tisicha Meretz Mitzrayim, and not creation. Now we're going to explain. You've been close. United Yetzias Mitzrayim. I want to first explain the general inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim. No, you say, Fali. Ayetzias Mitzrayim kipshuto. It's a very, very elemental maamar. This, as we see, look at how he explains it here. In addition to the literal exodus, yeah, the hechrech loim b'shesh b'zegam in Yeruchni. We have to say for sure also in Yeruchni. I mean, that's often the starting point in the maamar. Of course, it's Yeruchni is. But he's like starting in a basic. The Pell is, this is 3 o'clock in the morning, say the night. Who's there? The big chassidim, and yet it's extremely basic. And here I see later, Aveda, hard-hitting Aveda also. I'm just saying, this is a comment that is, say the night is chinuch, children. So this maamer is elementary, like talking to the child within, starting from fresh. The hechlich, we have to say that Yitzhak Mitzrayim is also in Ruchni. Of course, it's on the contrary. Everybody learns Chassidus. The first thing in Ruchni, you have to be reminded that Taki Yitzhak Mitzrayim also. Going out of Akbolis, the Ruchni, that's the whole thing. They're understanding from the beginning. There's Yitzhak Mitzrayim. We have to say also it was in Ruchni. Look how good it goes to say. Shaharei, what's the hechlich? Yitzhak Mitzrayim is written in Torah, which precedes creation. The Torah preceded the world 2,000 years. It means levels, not years. The 2,000 years is Chachma and Bina. If it preceded creation, certainly preceded the actual Exodus. And there, what's written in that Torah pre-creation, Yitzias Mitzrayim. Okay, ask the question so fundamentally, how could it be related in Torah, which precedes the world, about an Exodus, that took place way later? 2,000 years after creation, and then Yitzias Mitzrayim. Another 1,000 years. More. Yitzias Mitzrayim is therefore a spiritual thing. I just saw the chiyun of a bit here. So it's true of everything in Torah. Why it's making Yitzias Mitzrayim? Everything. How's everything in Torah written before Torah is given? And also tzarech not for now. What about like all the Avedas, the story? Mele mitzvahs in Yonim, but stories about what is it? What do they mean there? The stories are hidden sinning and all that's all written in Torah before. So first it begs the question, where's free choice if the whole story is written? What does it mean? But for now, it's explaining this, what all these inyanim mean. The same kasha bemis is really what it's going to mean after Mashiach comes. Nevi Miksuvim is going to be in this battle after Mashiach comes because their message we don't need anymore. The Navi basically is exhorting the Yid and chastising, even till him, thank you, save me, over, done. But Esther, Megillas Esther, and Teresh Biksav is Kayam Eloilam. What's the whole story with the Nachash and Paray, and there's punishments there and there's sins there. What's it all going to mean? I mean, we all know the answer. The Alter explains the Teichecha. What's the Teichecha going to mean? So everything, Bepnimius, is all famous of the Eibishter and all barachas and all tremendous giluyim. In fact, the lower it's manifested here, Bam is the higher it is, like Paroi. What's Paroi Baruchnis? Everybody remembers, brings us to this a lot. It's Priya called in circumcision, there's Priya, to pull back the foreskin to reveal the Aver. So Paroi means all of the limitations removed and all the lights revealed. It's Priya called and so when it says the word Paroi, when Mashiach will come, we're going to learn and experience, not just learn, Idiyas HaMahus. We're going to experience with these Meididike. Nachash is the Choshen, the highest Madreges, and the words will remain. The words are not going to change. But those very words, the word Rasha even Chassidus brings. The word Rasha is in Torah. You know what the word actually means also? Kipshuta. Exceeding. Exceeding means, you crossed the line, you exceeded, you went the wrong way. The Pnimius Rasha is exceeding L'mayla Makabala. So there are all these words which are now negative and stories and so on. Well, so therefore, just to explain this further, but still where's Bchira? That's the Bchira. That's the Bchira. It's all written before, but how's it going to translate? The way it is with Pnimius, something extremely positive and lofty, or negative. That's the choice we had, even that's within context. That's the choice we had. How these words, how they're going to play out. There's also another beer that the Torah Lamaila is written one string of letters without breaking up in words. So how it's broken up and how it's going to mean that's our input. How it's going to play out. But if it's one string of letters, can be divided and yield a whole different. Okay, that's another, not so pneumatic teretz, but another teretz. That's how the answer how Moishe Rabbeinu could write. It's actually the Gurah's answer. How could Moishe Rabbeinu write that he died? It's a lie. It's emes, and yet he gave the whole Torah. So Rashi answers he wrote from the Medrash bedema with tears. He still wrote it. It wasn't ink. It wasn't permanent. Doesn't mean he was crying while he wrote it. He wrote it with tears, so that it wasn't written, but it was there. And then after he passed away, even his Dalek, Yeshua filled it in. So he wrote it but didn't. That's a classic answer. But the Vilna Gaon has this interesting answer. Bedema means mixed up, like chulin and truma, mixed up. So he wrote it with a string of letters. He wrote mamish. And then after the Istalkus was divided, it meant Vayomas, Moishe, Eved Hashem. That's when it's divided into letters. Al Derazeh, so they want to say, same thing also, Torah pre-creation is written like this. So how's that going to translate? That's our choices. That's how it ends up, Lamata. But Apichsidis, it's written the way it's written. Paroi, and all the things. And the Pnimis is the greatest in Yonah, because all these things bring to tshuva, etc. So all the Kavan El Yonah, and the very words themselves hint to it as very lofty and deep connections. You can stop in a few minutes, but it just occurred to me this year, we open up by the Seder, we open up Yisha Amda. It always bothered me a little bit. Not Yisha Amda, Shvei HaMoscha. On one hand, it's the greatest moment of the Seder, Gili Aliyah Novi and the Geula, and we all know the story that Rebbe Rashab told the Frierdiker Rebbe, don't be a child, don't be and ask for Ruchnius. It's brought in Haggad. What do we say there? Nekoma, vengeance. That's the only thing we have to say. Pour your wrath upon the goyim and destroy them. Shaliduch. This is the moment. How about asking for Gilad Lekos, Beis HaMikdash, forgiveness? But there too, but Pnimius in these words lies the greatest Giluyim. Dafkin words that are so destructive. Amad leinu lachaloi seinu. I was thinking of you. Lachaloi seinu kleisa nefesh. That the whole end of Golus is to bring out a longing, lachaloi seinu, a longing for the Eibush, the deepest connection. It's a deeper taichin, lachaloi seinu. The ad violation is the Eibush asks, where's your kleisa nefesh? Where's your longing? I'm waiting for it. All these in Yonim, everything, Bepnimius, Adarabah, the lower it appears, Bepnimius is the highest, the source. Another few minutes, it's finished. So we have to say it's Inyan Ruchni. So it's written before the Torah was given to Ruchni is the Inyan. Again, like so basic. And Yitzias Mitzrayim exists, therefore, it's pre-creation, so therefore it exists in every dargil Maila, all the worlds and all the madregas, even higher than the Elamis. So what is it? Yitzias Mitzrayim means going beyond the limitations of all of the worlds. To experience a pure Shemavaya Eibishter himself. That's Shemavaya de Le'ela, beyond all limitations, Pasha the Eibishter himself, not just all the wonderful things he's expressing, but him. And that's why Yitzias Mitzrayim has to be a Machal Matan Torah. Through going out of these limitations, Begashmius, which is reflective of an Agilui of the Eibush himself, and Yivlei Malach, like it says in the God, it was me. So Nizgala Batan Tering, the Anochi, the Elokecho, that was all Achana for Anochi Elokecho. That it's I myself, I'm being drawn down to be Elokecho, which means your life, your experience, and your energy. I am giving myself to you. That's the murdered thing of the Gil of Shemavai, but David gives himself. And this is even seen in the physical body of a Yid. How so? The guf reflects Yud Kevavke. The head, which is small, is the Yud. And the body, which is long, that's the Vav. And what about the Beis Hain, the two Hays? He makes Beis Hayad, the fingers, the 5 fingers of the hand of Aregel, and the 5 toes. That's the lower Hay. Is explained elsewhere. That's why human being walks erect, not like animals. Every other creature doesn't walk that way. They all walk, basically the head and the body on the same level. The body is above the rest of the body. Why? Because he's a reflection of Shemavaya. The given should see Shemavaya, because the Shemavaya, the Yud is higher than the Vav. So therefore Yidden are made that the head sits atop the body. Could you imagine? Most creatures don't know there's a sky. Pasuk says, lift your head and see that there's a sky and who created. There are creatures that are born and die and don't know there's a sky. They know there's grass and there's water, and they know they need to do this and need to do that, and that's where life ends. But a Yid has the ability to see Shemayim, Shmei Shemayim. Why? Because he's made in the tzir, the Eibishter has invested his own tzir, kavayachol, in the physical body of a Yid. What about the rest of the world? That the Yid, that a human being walks this way, that's unique to the Yid. The whole world, everybody else looks like this, and is made like this. What a very thick answer, you know that. To be free choice. If only a Jew was created this way, then obviously we do what we have to do. But there should be pchira, so therefore all human beings are made this way. Okay, this tzarich iyun is not partial because the beginning of creation is Adam, he's not Jewish, and nas Adam etzalmeinu kid museinu. He's made in the image of God, which is exactly what this means here. Both his nefesh and his guf. Upon him, the pnimi is the reason for all this. Eventually, he'll come along a Yid and there'll be avodah of pchira and so on. We'll finish the paragraph. So now we'll understand why the pasuk begins. That I created the world, something from nothing. The whole point of Matan Torah is, I want you to know, and you will know me. Which means we have to go out of all agbolas and experience not just all the wonderful things that God expresses and does, but Him. Because of this idea of going out of, don't get locked in the mitzvah magvulim. Push it you, it's you. So all of these things, it's like it's the Pikeh Hanon Nasiv Malka. It's very impressive, all the things that God does, and you can get stuck there. Until this is wonderful. So Yitzias Mitzrayim is Hanon Nasiv Malka? No, it's you. And that's all the beauty of all of this, of all your tzvidus and your giluyim and your dargis. So every boundary, broken, no, not satisfied with this boundary. It's the search for you. That's Avaidel Eile. And it's totally beyond God as creator, as stupendous as that is, to be continued.
Well,